I really feel like I'm like you're a celebrity. I know.
Girl, please. No, not true. Not true at all. I'm just as excited to talk with you as you are to talk with me.
Hello and welcome to That Nerd Thing, where we uncover the magical impact that fandoms have on our lives. I'm Morgan, and today's guest I've known about for a while now, for several years, through her work as the social media manager for several podcasts that I listen to. And I asked her to be on the show as soon as I saw an amazing reel that she posted a few weeks ago. And it was basically about her message that always be a nerd, be a fan, be yourself, and don't be ashamed or try to hide it. And I really, I got the chills when I watched that reel, and I was like, I know, I was like, I need to message her right now. And I am so happy that she said yes to being on the show. So I would love to welcome Chloe Laverson to That Nerd Thing. Hi, Chloe.
Yay! Hi. I'm so honored and excited to be here. And you're so sweet. I made that reel off the cuff, 20 minutes after I saw what Miriam Margolis had said. I feel like maybe we should give a little context, but for everyone that doesn't know, Miriam Margolis went and did an interview, and she talked about basically how Harry Potter adults need to get over it. And obviously a few of us weren't too pleased with that. And I honestly love Miriam Margolis. I think she's so funny and she has a lot of really wonderful things to say. But I think this really struck a chord with me because I have found so much joy, and my mental health is genuinely better when I'm living in fandom and when I'm loving what I love and out loud and proud. And I know that there's going to be haters out there that are like, get over it, you're 25 years old, grow up. And for that, F you, I will simply never. So
yeah, I mean, I'm in my 30s and I will never get over it.
Yeah, I never get over it, ever.
Fandoms are so important. And, I'll use some of my professional identity here as a therapist. I will say having these things that we love help our psychological well-being. So
yes,
stay in it.
100%. Stay in it.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the world is so awful, the real world, right? So if we can escape to fantasy land just for a little bit, that's wonderful. I think there's worse ways to escape the real world than reading fantasy books or watching the Harry Potter movies or the Lord of the Ring movies.
Totally. Totally. And yeah, so you posted that reel and I was just like, yes, I need her on the show.
Oh, you're so sweet. I love talking about nerdy stuff with nerds. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Are you ready to jump into your nerdy identity?
Let's do it.
What was the first thing that you were nerdy about?
Oh gosh. So I have two answers to this, and I honestly don't know which one came first, if I'm so for real. I picked up the Harry Potter books kind of on a whim when I was really young. I was probably 8 when I first started reading them, and they were all out already. So I kind of just devoured. I'm sure I didn't understand some of the I know I didn't understand some of the complexities when I was that young, but I had a difficult time growing up. I was an only child who lived in a pretty abusive household. And I really, really related to Harry. I felt so alone. I felt like no one was in my corner. And the concept of family was really difficult to wrap my head around. I so felt connected to him and his story, and I loved that he got to be the hero and that he overcame it and he found his chosen family. And I really latched on. Obviously, it's still true because the Harry Potter series matters so much to me. But I think that was the first thing. And then the other one, a little less deep, was Webkinz. I don't know if you know what Webkinz are. But yeah, they were sold at Hallmark and the grocery store, and essentially you got this little stuffed animal and it had a code, and you used that code that was attached to this online internet, I guess social media, similar to Club Penguin in a sense. But I had 50 or 60 Webkinz. And I was so into it. And like a couple years ago, I got on this kick and I was like, I wonder if I could still log into my Webkinz. I can. It's downloaded on my computer, and every once in a while I'll go in and play like Smoothie Moves or like Home After Dark. Just to feel something, you know? But those were the two things that I was like really nerdy about. And then Barbie came like pretty shortly afterwards. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So my nieces are like close in age to you. I'm closer in age to me. And I know they're going to listen to this and be like, oh my God, Webkinz. I think they were super into it too. That's so funny.
Dude, those Webkinz, man, building them their homes. It's basically Sims, just like with little dogs. And there was this makeover show that you did, and they would like rate your outfits, and I think that really solidified like a personality trait for me.
Oh my God, I love that. And you know, your story with Harry Potter, I think it just goes to show like these stories are more than just stories that we read for fun.
Totally.
They really impact our well-being.
I think this is actually a common saying for people that love Harry Potter, but Harry Potter in many instances saved my life. For sure.
Yeah.
Because there was so many moments where I felt so alone, but Harry Potter and Hermione and Ron, they were there for me when maybe other people weren't.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember like being bullied in elementary school and not having friends or people to talk to, but reading the Harry Potter series like at recess to, you know, find comfort in that. Absolutely. I just think that books and movies and fandom can mean so much to people. So to say like get over it is pretty irresponsible at the end of the day.
100% agree.
Yeah.
What is your favorite nerdy thing?
That's interesting. So, I mean, Harry Potter's up there for sure. It probably is my top thing just because it never goes away.
The fandom like around it is just amazing.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like I make money knowing about Harry Potter. So for me, like it is also my parents. This is a side tangent, which you said I was allowed. So
absolutely.
My parents, I read Harry Potter so much to kind of escape my parents, I'm not going to lie to you. But after I read it like 4 or 5 times, they were like, hey, get a new book. We're over this. Get a new book series, like move on. And it wasn't that I wasn't reading other books, but I was always coming back to Harry Potter series. And my dad was like, seriously, you need to get a new book. And when I was, oh gosh, when did I start working for MuggleCast? I think I was 22. I was real young. And I started making money because I knew about the Harry Potter series. So now my parents like eat their words. And like I obviously make content about fandom as well. So for them, they were like, oh, shoot, we were wrong. And it's such a fun I told you so. Like, imagine if I did listen to you and I stopped reading the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can now get paid for your love for fandom.
Right. That is like the best thing in the world. And I have to pinch myself every single day that I get to work in fandom. Like probably 80% of the time now is spent in like nerdiness. And it is the biggest blessing of my life. I actually was crying about it a few weeks ago because I just feel like the luckiest girl in the world that I get to be creative every day and I get to be as nerdy as I want and no one's judging me. I'm sure some people are judging me, but I don't
But who cares? Yeah, who cares? Let them judge you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think my biggest one is probably Barbie.
Yeah.
I think it might surpass Harry Potter a little bit. Yeah. I love Barbie so much. The history and the direct to DVD Barbie movies, there's like 44 of them. I actually think there's technically 46 or 47, but the last 3 have been Netflix releases. So I don't know if I can call them direct to DVD movies, but I collect Barbies and I got to go to a private showing of the Barbie movie when it came out.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was so cool. I got an email from Mattel and I cried, but I love Barbie. It means a lot to me and it's actually like a very feminist thing to me. So yeah, that's probably my favorite. I have a bunch of others, obviously, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, How to Train Your Dragon, fantasy books, all of it, but Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pick, right?
I know, right? I feel like the favorite can change. Well, you know what? You could come back for a future episode and tell me what your favorite is that day.
Yeah, so true. It definitely depends on the schmood. And I feel like sometimes also the season.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's fall, I'm like feeling something different.
Yeah.
Fall, I feel like usually is actually Harry Potter comes out on top. That
makes sense.
Harry Potter season for me. Spring, summer, definitely like Barbie. I'm like obviously an ACOTAR fan, so I've been in that recently. But
yeah, I'm reading that too.
Depends on the season. Ah, are you really?
Yeah, I'm on the 5th book.
It?
I do.
You're on the best book in my opinion.
Really? Because
I love A Court of Silver Flames.
I don't know if this will be a spoiler. If it is, feel free to fast forward like a little bit, whoever's listening. But so I'm in the beginning of the 5th book. I didn't realize going into it the point of view, I guess.
Oh, you didn't realize which sister it was. I got it. She warms up to you.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Oh,
and
I figured.
It was, yeah. And I didn't think it was going to be my favorite because I think the second was my favorite.
Oh.
And I'm so honest, before the 5th. But A Court of Silver Flames, like, is just so powerful. And after I read it, I felt so good. And I was like also obviously turned on a little. Like it's such an incredible series. And I think that every person I've ever met, when I tell them, I'm like, get through the first book and you'll be golden.
Mm-hmm. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, good. Oh, I'm so glad. Have you also read Fourth Wing?
Yes.
And Iron Flame?
Yep.
Okay, amazing.
Those books got me back into reading.
Yes, 100%. I think they have what I like to call the Harry Potter effect.
Yeah.
They get people back into reading. And honestly, I haven't stopped reading since I picked up Fourth Wing. Like
Yeah,
I'm now
me too.
very fully, constantly having a book. And I think that went away in college and during COVID for sure. And I'm so happy that it's back and I can consider myself like a full-fledged book girly again.
I know, it's so amazing. And I'm seeing people like book influencers and stuff. I don't know what you call them.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
yes.
This is so cool.
Yes. I don't know if you were part of BookTube in like 2011, 2012.
I wasn't.
Okay, so we talked about MuggleCast and obviously Millennial, but the other podcast I work for is called Those Forking Fangirls, and they're like OG booktubers. And one of them I actually did watch when I was little, and now she's one of my best friends, which sometimes I like have to step back and be like, like this is crazy. We got ready for a Netflix premiere. Last week, we went to the Bodkin premiere, and we were like getting ready together. And this is so funny, but she was like in a bra, and I was like, oh my God, I used to watch you on YouTube. And now you're like my best friend, and we're getting ready together.
Aww.
It's very cute. But they're like OG book girlies. So I definitely am deep in the Bookstagram, Book Talk, BookTube. Like I love it. I love it so much. And I love how out and loud and proud everyone is starting to be about their fandoms and what they love. That makes me so happy. Do I wish that it happened like 10, 15 years ago? Yes. But I can be happy that it's happening now too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so exciting. And once I've started this podcast, I didn't realize there's so many other nerd podcasts out there. And it's so cool. The community is amazing.
The community is amazing. And the fandoms, I will say, I don't think every fandom is created equal, but I do love that every fandom can feel safe for people. Like you can feel like you have a community and people to talk with. And I love that there's so many different ways to connect now, which is a really positive thing that's come out of the internet and social media. Obviously, you were involved during MuggleNet, like, and got involved in stuff during those early chat days and whatnot.
Yep.
But there's so many ways beyond just like the chat rooms now, right? You have Discord and you have YouTube and you have Instagram and TikTok and like and podcasts and all these ways to find your fellow people and your fellow nerds. And I think that's so special.
Yeah. By the way, I love your Instagram stories. They are so fun.
Stop gassing me up.
I know, right?
Great. So thanks for enabling me. I will be hosting more because Morgan said I could.
Yes, please. They're so fun. Like all the things that you're doing.
Have fun.
Yeah.
That's what's important. It's let's just have fun. That's what social media should be. And I always tell people, if I can, as a social media manager, bring more happiness and joy and good to social media, because there is literally so much bad, then I'm doing my job right.
When I create like my clips and my captions for the show, I'm thinking, okay, let me like channel my inner Chloe.
Stop. WWCD.
Yeah.
Chloe do. She would probably be really crazy. Like sometimes I write like a caption and I'm like, is this too much? And then I think and I'm like, yeah, probably, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Just have fun.
Yeah.
Like that's literally all it's about. At the end of the day, it's not that serious.
Exactly. What are you, okay, if you had I know we're talking about so many different nerdy things, but right now,
Yeah.
what are you currently nerdy about?
What am I currently nerding about? So it's May, right? So I'm currently in like Star Wars mode for sure. I went to Star Wars night at Disneyland like a week ago. So much fun. I dressed up as Chewbacca. It was amazing. I got to meet a bunch of characters, which I loved, and it's just fun. And I love that I can nerd out with other women about Star Wars now. I feel like it really feels like a boys club. There's a few fandoms that really feel like boys clubs, and I feel like Star Wars and Marvel are kind of at the top of that for me, but it just felt so good. So I've definitely been in a Star Wars moment recently. And then also How to Train Your Dragon, which is a much, much smaller fandom, but it's one of my favorites of all time. And I'm working on an Astrid cosplay. I don't know if you've ever seen How to Train Your Dragon. Okay, but my friend Taya, who is also big in like fandom and cosplay, she was like, babe, you should do an Astrid cosplay. And I was like, oh, you're so right. I had never even thought about it. Because, there's classic blondes that you cosplay, but I don't know. So I'm working on that.
Oh,
that's
exciting.
So
cool. I'm excited to see those pictures.
Thanks. Oh my gosh, Astrid is such a badass. Like, I love when women in fandom and fantasy are like so strong and yet so feminine. Like, that's what really gets me going.
For sure. What is the most underrated nerdy thing about you?
Ooh, that's such an interesting one. I do think like How to Train Your Dragon is probably pretty niche.
Yeah.
Or like at least smaller than most of the things I'm into. I also think that I'm like so deep in Barbie and the Barbie movies, the original ones, I don't know how big that fandom is either. I haven't found too many people to nerd out about it with yet. So if you were that person, hit me up, slide into my DMs. I could desperately use some Barbie friends. But I think most of mine are the big ones that everyone loves. I'm like an anime girly, so I definitely like some anime stuff. Oh, I just thought of the fandom. Okay, this is very specific, but Disney fairies, but the original release. So Disney fairies like is Tinkerbell, Rosetta, all of those people, but they originally came out as books. Oh. And I was so into the books, and there was like a fairy guide that they had, and I love it. It's like the original Pixie Hollow game. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but it was so much fun, and you got to create your little fairy. I can send you like screenshots later because it's cute. But I love anything to do with fairies. Like, I'm a big fairy girl, and that was probably like my intro drug to fairies. And I'm on like a bunch of Discord servers that like we basically act like we're fairies from Pixie Hollow.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun.
Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute and so fun. And one of the Discord servers, like, you're either like, you have different talents as a fairy in Pixie Hollow. So you're like a tinker fairy, which is what Tinkerbell is. And then there's also like a water fairy, and there's winter fairies, and there's garden fairies, and I'm a water fairy. So we made like a playlist collectively as all the water fairies that like give water fairy energy. And I like eat that stuff up. I'm like, yes, I love incorporating silly fandom and nerdiness into my everyday life. And if I can do that through a playlist, amazing.
And you're also bonding with other people who like similar things. So you're getting that community as well.
The community part is the most important part, like fully. Yeah. Just having other people that you can relate to and that love the same thing you love. There's nothing that brings more joy.
What is the most random nerdy thing about you?
Oh, I am like obsessed and I just like fell into this, and I did a whole podcast episode about it, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, I found during COVID. I think a lot of people watched it during COVID because it got released on Netflix. And now I'm so deep in the lore. I watch YouTube videos about every theory you've ever seen about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I've read all the comics and I've read the Kyoshi novels, and like it's one of those things that I just fell into, and now it feels random to me, but now it's like such a big part of my life. But yeah, my entire YouTube algorithm is like, let us deep dive and analyze this one scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I love that. I love that every fandom that you're passionate about, you're like super into it.
You gotta be.
Yeah.
You gotta be. There's definitely some fandoms that I'm a little more light on. Like I said, the anime stuff, I'm not like as big on. I feel like that's like ex-boyfriends roping me in and then me like liking it. But yeah, if you're gonna be in a fandom, go hard. That's what I always say. And again, I'm lucky that I get to make a lot of this my life, so I can go a little harder. And I do this thing where I'm like, well, but if I get super into this and I learn so much about it, then I can make content about it. So I'm like basically making money, and I'm like basically like it's a bit girl math is what it is.
But you know, that's like a perfect transition to now talking about like your journey into fandom. And it's like, what has that been like to work now in fandom?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, a dream come true.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my MuggleCast story because it's kind of crazy. At least I think it's crazy. So I started listening to Potterless during COVID. And Mike is wonderful and I adore him. But at the time he wasn't Mike, he was the Potterless guy. And can confirm he's great in real life. But I started listening to Potterless, and then I think an episode that Eric was on Potterless. And I was like, amazing, another Harry Potter podcast to distract me from my woes and the fact that I'm stuck in my house and I can't see anyone that I love. Great. So I started listening to MuggleCast in 2020, and I listened for maybe 2021 actually. And I listened for like 6 months, and I finally was like, you know what? I really love these people. I'm going to support them on Patreon. I think that if you can and have the means to support people on Patreon, it's the best thing you can do. And I always want to show the creators that I love that I really love what they're doing and support them in the way that I can. So I signed up for the Patreon. Literally the exact day I signed up for the Patreon, they posted that they're looking for a new social media manager. I shit you not. The exact same day. And I was like, well, this feels like a sign to me. And I decided to apply.
So were you a social media person before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's what I studied, and I was a full-time social media manager. So it felt right. I was like, wow, okay, cool. I could do this for Harry Potter, like something in the Harry Potter world, and I could make a little extra money. That doesn't sound too bad at all. So I applied. I had a green Slytherin resume, and I like put all my social media stuff, obviously, but at the bottom I also put like my fandom ID. So I put my Hogwarts house and my favorite character, my favorite book, and my favorite movie. And I also sent them like ideas of what I would do for their socials. And Andrew reached out, and I talked with Andrew, Micah, and Laura, and Eric, and it was like we just vibed immediately. We hopped on Zoom, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. This is great. And since then, it's been an amazing journey. Obviously, MuggleCast was my start. And then through MuggleCast, I met all these amazing people, and I've had wonderful opportunities like going to LeakyCon and like forming and networking and getting connections. So obviously, MuggleCast and Millennial came at the same time. And then I met Christine, who's now one of my best friends and the host of Those Forking Fangirls alongside Natasha Polis. And we are now all best friends, and I work for them as well. And it's just so crazy that it happened. Like, it was really just like one day. I don't believe in random, so I fully think that everything happens for a reason, but it has just been such a beautiful and wonderful journey. And without Andrew, Eric, Micah, Laura, Natasha, and Christine, like, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. And they're all such wonderful people and such great ads in my life, and now I get to be a nerd on the internet.
That's
so
amazing. So
yeah.
Do you remember like how you felt when they're like, yeah, we want you?
To be honest with you, I kind of knew like as soon as we started talking on the call,
clicked.
I was like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, this is it. Yeah. So it wasn't like a feeling of, oh, I don't know yet. I kind of knew. Andrew might be like, God, you're so annoying, and I roll to this, but yeah, it just felt right. and we've been friends like basically since. And I still need to meet Pam in person, but I've met everyone else and it's just been so wonderful.
Did you fangirl over them when you first started talking?
So no, actually. And I think that maybe that's
what helped.
The part that was important. Yeah, because yes, I did listen to them and I thought they were great. I looked at their socials before I applied so I could get to know them a little bit. So I knew what they looked like, but I haven't been listening to them my whole life, and they didn't feel like these crazy big entities to me. And now I know what the impact they have is and like how important they are to so many people, and I get why. They deserve it. Again, that's the best. They deserve to be important to so many people because they're amazing human beings. But yeah, they just like were my friends. They started as my colleagues and then they quickly all became my friends.
That's amazing. I totally fangirled for... Well, so I've interviewed now Andrew, Laura, and Pam on the show, and I was just like totally fangirling before, and I'm just like, how am I supposed to interview you when I've been listening to you for years? And I still want to have Eric and Micah on the show.
Wait, can I ask you maybe a spicy question?
Yeah.
Who did you fangirl the most?
Andrew.
Like, who were you the most? Andrew? He knows.
That.
Because, wait, I remember the clip, like, you had a crush on him.
I did.
Hilarious. Wait, okay, I might expose Laura. No, I think she said this, but she did too.
Yeah, she said that in our episode.
Yeah.
She's like, don't feel bad. Everybody had a crush on Andrew. That she did also.
What's funny is we get DMs all the time that are like, oh, I just wish he wasn't gay, which is so funny to me. I'm like, what a crazy ass thing to send me.
So I know people actually said that.
Oh my God, people are thirsty in the DMs. It's funny. I mean, like, I live for it because I'm the one that sees it. Every once in a while, I'll send a screenshot. So just know that if you're sliding into the DMs, I could screenshot it and send it.
That's hilarious. But yeah, no, totally. Like when Andrew said yes to being on like the show, I was like,
yeah,
how do I you're my dream guest. Like now what do I do?
Oh, you're like, I've peaked. Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
He is worth standing. And I tell everyone that. And he's even better in person and in real life. Like I loved him obviously and I cared deeply for him, but we met in real life and I was like, oh, I love you even more now. And I actually think I cried about it, which embarrassing maybe. But like he's so wonderful IRL.
That reminds me. So I met him very briefly at, was it Infinitus in Orlando, like in 2010.
My God, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it was so brief, but I remember... Like, I think I went up to introduce myself just to say hi, that I, like, love MuggleCast and stuff. And he was with a bunch of other people. But I just remember him being so kind. He's like, people were coming up and saying hi. And he, like, wanted to make me feel included. So he's like, oh, yeah, this is, like, what they're doing. And I just remember it was, like, he was very aware of, like, me saying hi. And, it's like, was trying to make me feel comfortable. And I thought that was so kind.
Yeah. And meeting, like, listeners in real life is such... an honor. It's so wonderful. I went to LeakyCon this past year and I didn't think anyone would know who I was or even care that I was there. And that was not the case. Aww. Like so many people came up and talked to me and like I made friends with some listeners and it just like, it was so sweet. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that like you care and want to meet me and want to take a picture with me. It was pretty mind blowing. But again, like I think that the best thing is that most of the people that you stan in fandom or that like are fandom influencers, they usually deserve it. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's such a great point to put it that like they do deserve it. That's why I'm also like, I want them to come on the show again and again and again because they're just so fun.
You've been doing great, babes. Every clip I see, I'm like, this is good.
Thank you.
It does not look like, first of all, it does not look like a newbie podcast at all. Looks professional, looks thought out, looks like you've been doing this for a while.
Oh, that's so nice. So what else like about your journey into fandom do you want to share? Because I feel like it's so cool, the things that you get to do and the people you get to meet.
It is so cool. It's a privilege every single day. I think the biggest thing is like for the longest time, I used to be scared to be out loud about my nerdiness or even like dress really the way that I wanted to dress or act the way that I wanted to act for fear of other people. And there's this idea, there's so much nonsense on the internet about like, oh, this is too basic or, oh, you're not basic enough or like, you're too weird, you're too out there. Like no one cares. No one cares. And if they do, they're fans. Every time someone is a hater or talking about me, I'm like, oh, you're talking about me? I'm so glad you're a fan. Like, at the end of the day, do what makes you happy, do what brings you joy. I have decided to unapologetically be myself, and it has changed my life so much for the better. And I promise the second you start unapologetically being yourself, you'll find the people that you're meant to be with and meant to hang out with, and you will find the communities that you're meant to be a part of. It is hard and it is a journey. And I'm not telling you every single day I'm like going out feeling so confident in who I am. But once I realized that I'm allowed to be as nerdy as I want, and I'm allowed to dress as weird as I want and as pink as I want, the right people started coming into my life.
I love that. I am going to use that when I get big enough to have haters. Be like, oh,
yes,
you're a
every
fan.
time I have a hater, I know every time I have a hater, I'm like, oh, so you think about me?
Yeah.
And I don't know who you are. Thanks for being a fan. Like, so nice of you.
I love that.
So nice. Because you got to reframe it. Like, I certainly have a lot of people that are like, oh, like, what is Chloe doing with her life? And I'm like, having fun, like living my best life. And I'm so sorry that you're bothered by it. But if someone's bothered by you being nerdy and loving what you love, first of all, they should be nowhere near you and immediately get rid of them in your life. But also, like, they're just jealous that you are out loud and proud about the things that you love. And they probably are secretly nerds too, that are unfortunately traumatized and can't be out loud and proud about it.
That's true.
Everyone's a nerd. That's the real tea. No one is not a nerd about something. Like, I went on a date with a guy like a month ago. And he was like, oh, I'm not a nerd. But then he spent like 2 hours talking about camera software and all this tech. And I was like, oh, babes, you're just like a nerd about this. And I loved it. And I was like, I love that you love this so much, but you're 1000% a nerd. And you might as well just like
own it.
Own it. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. What is it like to do something you love for work? Does it ever feel like it's work? Does it ever lose the fun?
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the end result I'm always love and I'm always obsessed with. Not all the components of getting to the end result I love. Like, I'm sure you feel that way about the podcast. I'm sure there's tasks that you like to do. Like, for example, I'm sure you love to record. Yeah, you love the recording part. But then you get to the editing and you're like 5 hours deep and you're like wanting to cry because like we're breathing too loud and you're like, shit, like I don't know. Like, what am I doing here?
And I'm like, Morgan, shut up.
Oh my God, never shut up, babes. We all want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, you're so sweet.
It's true though. But yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects, like the organization I have to have in terms of all of the different tasks that I have and all the different podcasts I have to keep straight, and like who's recording with who and what's coming up and the calendars and posting manually, and like just everything is so much to keep track of. So like the organization is cuckoo. Also, another thing that people don't think about is when you're a social media manager, when you're doing podcasting, when you're doing content creation, even if you're doing it about one fandom. For example, MuggleCast is fully about Harry Potter. We have to stay so up to date on Harry Potter news and anything pop culture to do with Harry Potter. And Those Forking Fangirls basically is like all girly pop culture. So like I need to be up on all of that stuff as well. Millennial, like I need to have some semblance of like current events and what's happening. Like,
so you need to know everything.
A little bit about everything, low key, like especially in pop culture and fandom, like you have to be up because you have to be ahead of everyone else and you have to be ahead of the curve because you're the expert in this case, right? So I have to be like knowing pop culture. I have to know the slang. Like I'm starting to get to the age, and Laura, Andrew, Pam and I were talking about this, and I think maybe the other host too, but like 25 is the age where you start to realize like you don't know all this new slang because you're like not really in it because you're like out of school and you're like not quite so I'm like trying to I gotta try to stay hip all the time.
Have you met any celebrities?
I have met some celebrities. I think there's two that are super relevant to this podcast. And I will tell you one that like was scary for me, but I kept my cool. When we are invited as MuggleCast to LeakyCon, we share the green room with quite a few big celebrities, which, you know, makes sense. And Tom Felton was in the green room, and so was MuggleCast. And I, of course, meet him on the day that I'm wearing like my full Slytherin robe.
Perfect.
I'm like, oh my God, I look like such a fucking fan right now. And I am, obviously, like, but we were sharing a green room. And it's interesting because the cosplayers, the podcasters, the content creators share green rooms with the big celebrities. They also have their own room, but I think we share like the food room essentially. So all the food is in one room, so they have to come get their food. Tom Felton is literally Ken. He's literally Ken. He walks around with his guitar constantly. He is constantly strumming on his guitar. Like the whole time we're talking, he's like finger picking his guitar. And like there's like a I know. There's like a back soundtrack. But yeah, we talked for a good 25 minutes.
Wow.
And I kept my cool the whole time.
Good for you.
I was so chill. I was freaking out inside.
Yeah.
Like my head was like, like the whole time. Micah and Eric were watching me because they're like, holy shit, is Chloe gonna embarrass us? Like, also, everyone should know that Micah and Tom Felton like are BFFs. They really like each other. They had like 2 really, really long conversations. So if you're like a MuggleCast listener, you should know that Tom Felton is a Micah fan. But
oh my gosh, I love this.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, Micah was like, I'm gonna go find Tom. I was like, you do that, babes. Like, but Eric and Micah were watching me because I'm sure they were like, oh shit, is Chloe gonna embarrass us? I didn't, obviously. But Micah afterwards was like, dude, you kept your cool. I was like, yeah, I was freaking out. And I went and I filmed a TikTok like right afterwards talking about it. And it went like, it did well, but I can send it to you. And I was just like, I did an outfit check and I was like, you guys, I just met Tom Felton. In this outfit. And then I also met Elijah Wood, and he's so
cool.
He is so gorgeous in real life. Like,
I bet.
So gorgeous. Short as frick, but oh my God, he was talking and I was just like, oh, and he's got like a little salt and pepper now. He's just so gorge. He's so gorge. I've obviously met a bunch of influencers that y'all love, I'm sure. Like Taya Miller is one of my best friends, and Natasha Polis, like I said, and Christine Riccio, and then M. Wallenbank is so fun and so wonderful, and so is Chanel Williams. So all these people that you love, keep loving them. They're worth it for sure. And then I'm trying to think. I've also met like celebrities just like out and about because I live in California. But those were like the 2 distinct ones that like really resonated with me as a huge nerd and like a fandom girly. I also obviously have met and am friends with Chris Rankin. I'm more close to his fiance, who I love, but he's great. And I also, oh my gosh, I'm like forgetting his name now, but the guy who played Oliver Wood, met him as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean Biggerstaff, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. He's really sweet. He's actually really shy. Like, he's super shy for a celebrity. I met Victor Crumb's actor as well. His name's Stan. And Victor Crumb in the books is like super nerdy and like skinny and dorky and quiet. Stan is the absolute opposite. He gives like big party boy vibes. He definitely was like flirting it up with a lot of Harry Potter influencer girlies. So he's like kind of the opposite of what his character is, but exactly what you think he would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Read between the lines.
Yeah.
So what is it like for you to have fans?
Oh God, that's new. That's really new. Really, really humbling and really wonderful. Every time someone like reaches out to me and says something like, you mean a lot to me and thank you for posting this, it's hard not to get emotional every single time still. I don't know if people ever get used to it, but like when people were asking me for pictures specifically at LeakyCon, I was just like floored. It's like, why do you care about me? I've had a listener send me, I've had quite a few people send me like care packages, I guess, or like fan mail is what I would call it. And one of the listeners sent me a Barbie customized Chloe cup and from Ireland. And I was like crying because it was so cute and so sweet. And I think I've become friends with a couple of people that like, I guess started as fans. There's these 2 women who are now 2 of my closest friends. I mean, I'll call them out. They're Jules and Jenny. They are MuggleCast listeners, and we met at LeakyCon, and I like totally clicked with them immediately. I was like, wow, I love these girls. They're wonderful. And I moved back to San Diego in October. And they DM'd me and they were like, hey, we don't know if this is weird. It might be weird, but can we take you to dinner? And I was like, oh gosh, I've never done this, but like, yeah, let's go to dinner. And we've become literally best friends. I'm going to Jenny's birthday party this month and I'm so excited. Sometimes they will bring up things that they know about me that I've never told them because they've listened to the podcast or they like were following me. And that part, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that like you knew who I was before I knew who you were, but it's so wonderful. And it makes me happy that I can bring people joy. And that's really all I want. If I can bring you joy and we can connect, like I love when people DM me and are like, hey, like I didn't know who else to send this to, but I know that you'll get it. And I think isn't that so cool? People will send me TikToks or they'll like tell me their feelings about a fantasy book that they love. And I love it. I'm like, oh my gosh, please, I'm so happy to listen and be the person that you send this to. Those messages also make me super emotional. Yeah. And if I can just bring people joy and make connections with people, then yeah, I love having fans. But at the end of the day, especially if we're talking in DMs and you're sending me TikToks and like I know your handle, like we're friends.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So it's so amazing how you went from like reading Harry Potter to now fandom's your world.
Yeah.
How has fandom changed your life?
That's heavy. I think it's probably heavy for maybe a lot of people that you talk to. Like I said, Harry Potter saved me when I was young. So there's that. I have talked about this publicly, and like I'm fine sharing it, but I had breast cancer when I was 19. And what got me through is escaping into fantasy worlds. And I think that fandom has gotten me through all of my hard times. If anyone has been there for me, it's Harry Potter, it's Barbie, it's fandom. It's like deep diving into these things that like I love escaping to. And the fact that like I get to dress up for Red Fair with my friends, pretend to be a fairy, that has brought me joy that I never thought I would have.
Yeah.
I think that I'm trying not to cry.
You can cry.
I know.
I love when people cry.
You're like, you can cry. It's good content. I just think that I wouldn't be the person I am today without fandom. I think I'm a better person because of fandom, because of the people that it's brought into my life. I'm a better person because it's helped me with my mental health. I'm a better person because the characters that I read about and watch have inspired me to think bigger and be better and love harder. And I just think that if you don't have fandom in your life, it might not be as good as it would be if you did have fandom in your life.
So inspiring.
No, thank you. But it's true.
Yeah.
And you know it. We know it. The people that are in it know it.
Yeah. What does being a nerd mean to you?
Ooh, I think for me, it does mean unapologetically being myself, because I think I was so scared to be a nerd for so long. And it's interesting. And I don't know if this will resonate with people, but I grew up being really chubby and not cute and struggling with my self-worth. And I didn't really have that many friends. And then I became like a little more attractive and I guess digestible for normal people. And that's when being a nerd was okay with them. And that's really hard to think about a lot of the time. And I want everyone to be empowered to be out loud and proud of your nerdiness, no matter what. At the end of the day, like, we are all nerds. And the people that are hating you about being a nerd are just scared that they can't be it out loud themselves. I think that being a nerd is so special. And it's like the most fun I have. And I don't think anyone shouldn't be a nerd. You're a nerd. Even if you think you're not a nerd, you're a nerd about something.
Yeah.
Like, even like, this is so unhinged maybe of a take, but even frat boys that like have their favorite beers, you're a nerd about beers. Like
True.
You can be a nerd about anything. As long as you're like super into something and you have a lot of knowledge about it, you're a nerd.
Yeah. I love being a nerd.
Yeah. There's freaking nothing better than being a nerd. Okay. Can I ask you something actually?
Ooh, yes. Please.
What do you want to see more of as a nerd on the internet? Like, what are you missing anything from like your favorite creators? Do you wish that there was something that people would do more? What do you want to see as a nerd?
Wow, that's a
and
tough
it can be
question.
more like deep too. Yeah.
Something let's see where I go with this answer.
Yeah, no, take it anywhere.
Do you know like The Office where Michael's like, sometimes I just speak and I see where it goes?
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I feel on this podcast. So let's just
take it, boo-boo. Take it and run.
I think something that has always held me back maybe from interacting with certain fandoms or getting involved or being more loud about being a nerd. I feel like I've always been like a major lurker, but I don't share it a lot, or I haven't in the past.
Lurker.
Yeah.
I love that. I've been a lurker too.
Yeah. It's because I feel like I don't know enough. I'm like, if I'm not super invested, I don't know everything, then I'm not a real fan and I need to keep my mouth shut. Or,
oh my God, I've been there.
Yeah. Or I'm not caught up on a podcast. So who am I to say I'm a fan of it if I haven't listened to everything yet? Or like things like that. So knowing that it's okay to not know everything and you can still be a nerd about something. I think that's something I could have really benefited from like throughout the years.
Yes. I love that so much. And like, as you were talking, literally a post was forming in my head. Like, you do not have to be caught up on episodes. You do not need to know every single fact. You do not need, like, you are allowed. No gatekeeping fandoms.
Exactly.
We're not gatekeeping fandoms anymore. If you haven't read every Lord of the Ring book, like, you are still allowed to love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, totally true. Oh, I love that you asked me a question. That's so fun.
I know. I loved your answer. I'm obsessed with that. Like, you just inspired me to do some things.
Yay.
You'll see them.
Ooh.
I'll give you credit. I'll be like, inspired by Morgan at That Nerd Thing podcast.
Thank you. I feel like I'm being a fangirl right now. I'm like, oh my God, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I was a guest on Millennial, I was just like, this is unreal.
You did so well.
Aww.
Your episode was so interesting and
Thank you.
Genuinely so helpful. Like, for real.
Thank you. Yeah. One of the things that I've been trying to figure out and sort of like a balance on this podcast is my identity as a therapist and a nerd, because I created this podcast to kind of embrace who I am outside of therapy, because, I can't really nerd out as a therapist because it's just a different sort of work.
Yeah.
But the more and more, and so I was like, you know what, this is not a therapy podcast. I'm not having my therapist identity on the show, but I feel like it's part of who I am, and I need to like embrace like that side of things too. So it's just something I've been trying to figure out. So then when I was on Millennial and I got to like talk a little bit about like some therapist-y type stuff and the podcast, I was like, oh, this is interesting talking about both.
You can definitely combine them. I feel like for a lot of people, fandom can be therapy or like a form of therapy for sure. Yeah. And I think there's like definitely a lot to unpack about like inner child work and like what that means when you like latch onto things as a child and continue to love them as an adult.
Oh my gosh, totally.
I also think that like it'll be really nice for people to hear from a therapist like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to like still love the things that you loved when you were little and celebrate that.
Yeah, and it's okay to even find new things as an adult to nerd out about.
Yes, 1000%.
All right, are you ready to jump into geeky recommendations?
Let's do it.
Okay. I always struggle coming up with a recommendation, and I don't know why, because I'm a fan of so many things, but I am going to recommend Hamilton on Disney+.
Ooh, so good.
Yes.
So good.
I love Hamilton. If you have Disney+, go check it out.
So I have a few recommendations.
Yes.
If you love How to Train Your Dragon like I do, I totally recommend looking into Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. It's literally How to Train Your Dragon just for adults and like a little spicy. Well, a lot spicier, actually. I also recommend Avatar: The Last Airbender, specifically the cartoon version. I actually think the world is so wonderful to get into as an adult, and there is so much there, and it is just like easy. It's easy to get into and it's fun and I love it. Obviously the live action came out. I like it as well, but it's nothing compared to, the original. So I'll recommend that. And then I will recommend watching Barbie, Princess and the Pauper. It is the third direct-to-DVD Barbie movie. I think it is the best one. It is a musical. It is fierce. Everything slaps. Martin Short is the villain, if that entices you at all. But it is so good. And if you're into that, then I recommend you continue to watch them and get into it.
That's amazing. Is it on Netflix or any streaming service right now?
It's you definitely can access it on the internet.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Okay, good to know.
There's definitely easy ways to access it on the internet. And then it's so funny. I didn't talk about this at all, but like stream Taylor Swift.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Have you seen my niece's podcast? Yeah.
Yes. I saw it. Gosh, where did I see it first? Maybe Pam
was on it
actually with me. I need to go listen. Gosh, I love it. I am a Taylor Swift girly. Clearly it's not like crazy high up on my list, but she matters to me a lot. I've been listening to Taylor since I was 10. Like I grew up with her. So she matters so much to me. And okay, side note, she dropped her album, The Tortured Poets Department, on my birthday, 4/19. And there's a song with my name in it.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, Taylor, are you talking to me right now? I was like, babe, so you know me? Like, we're friends? Got it. Cool.
Love that.
It was a great birthday gift.
Yeah.
It was also like a little depressing birthday gift, but it was good.
Chloe, you are amazing. I am so happy you said yes to being on the show. Oh, thank you. You're wonderful. Thank you for being here today.
I loved it. This was so fun. Let's do it again.
Yes.
Let's roll it back.
Yes, for real. Where can people find you?
My Instagram and TikTok handle is at Chloe Laverson. I make fandom content, a lot of fashion content, but like specifically with the like nerdy twist. I'm obviously really involved with some podcasts and I'm on them pretty often, which is really a blessing, but you should check out Those Forking Fangirls. My favorite episode is our Frankensteining our book boyfriends, and we basically pick certain aspects we would want from certain characters and create our perfect ideal man. And then there's MuggleCast, and I'm blessed to be on the Girls Takeover panel. Those episodes are so much fun and I love it. And then also check out Millennial, which is an incredible podcast that talks about politics and pop culture. And yeah, just stay tuned. Like there's a lot of really fun, exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, seriously, everybody go follow Chloe. Her posts are so inspirational and fun.
Yeah, that's like what we're trying to do. We're just always trying to have fun, be nerds, be cool on the internet.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, it would mean so much to me if you can please rate and review the show in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and like this video. If you want to get in touch, you can email me at thatnerdthingpod@gmail.com. And even though my social posts are nowhere near as good as Chloe's posts.
Stop it. They're wonderful.
Thank you. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at thatnerdthingpod. And remember, I am always looking for nerdy guests to have on the show. If you think that you would be a great fit, or if you know somebody else, just let me know and we can chat about it. And please share the show with your nerdy friends. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Yay.